Hey y'all, on today's episode of The Real Royalty, we are going to be discussing Queen Ranavalona of Madagascar. She was born in 1778. She was born into royalty. Her father was a prince and her mother was a princess. She got her claim to fame when her father warned King Adrian of his own uncle trying to take the throne for himself. So, in return for saving the king's life, the king offered him his son's hand in marriage for Princess Ramovo. Even though Princess Ramovo outranked Prince Ramada's wives, he wasn't too fond of her, aka he didn't like her. So he chose to spend his time with his other wives, and they were pretty much in a loveless marriage. And when Ramada died, he was surrounded by two of his most trustworthy men. However, they did not report his death as soon as they should have, because a military man found out that he was dead, and he was on the side of Ramovo versus the rightful heir taking the throne, which would be Ramada's nephew, Rakatobi. The two people that the king was with were in fear of reporting his death because they were rivals with someone else. So the military man that found out that Ramada was dead, he got some other powerful men, and they went and they got Ramavo and her friend, and they took them into hiding. Once they were in hiding, the judges and an army to rally behind Ramovo. Once he got the judges and once he had the army, that is when Ramovo took the throne and declared that she was the rightful successor. When she took over the throne on August the 11th, 1828, people began to call her the Mad Monarch. And that was because when she came in hot. She got rid of the peace treaty that they had with Britain. She stopped trading goods with them, and she was focused on self-reliancy, aka forced labor from her slaves. She had an army of about 20 or 30,000, and they brought her back around 1 million slaves. They took the slaves' fortunes and gave them to the queen, which in turn made the crown richer. In between 1833 and 1839, they had a population of about 5 million. That population decreased by half. They died from famine, forced labor, as well as being tortured. The queen would go on to have a son by her first chief advisor, and the chief advisor, he liked Ramada. He wanted to keep Ramada's policies going. He wanted to trade with Britain and other countries just to keep the country afloat. He wasn't really a believer in forced labor. There were also other people that had the queen in their eyesight, and they didn't like the fact that it was somebody so close to her. They wanted the queen to themselves. They wanted to rule the kingdom through the queen, and they knew that they could not do that while her chief advisor was around. So one day they got the queen drunk, and they got her to sign her chief advisor under the guise of witchcraft and high treason, which was a lie. They found the chief advisor at his house. They cornered him and they slaughtered him. The queen remarried 2 more times, with her last husband being banished into exile because he tried to take over the throne from her last son, Ramada II. Now, she did name him Ramada II, but Ramada I was not his father. His father was the chief advisor. It could not have been Ramada's son because she had him 11 months after King Ramada's death. Around 60,000 people died from famine and the scorched earth policy. Basically, they were keeping food, water, and things needed for housing. They were keeping that from the army. So pretty much they starved them out and left them out in the wilderness to catch diseases, get sick, and die from malaria. The queen believed in something called the Tangina ordeal, and that was poison from a nut on the Tangina tree. So what would happen was, if you were accused of practicing Christianity, going against the queen, treason, things like that, you were given 3 pieces of chicken skin and the poison from the Tangina nut. If you were to throw up all 3 pieces of chicken skin, then you were proven innocent. If not, death awaited. By 1938, over 100,000 people had died from the poison of the Tangina nut. The queen made it against the law for you to have books or Bibles based in Christianity. She would have you fined, tortured, jailed, or put to death. She felt like she and her ancestors had mystical power. In turn, that made her holy. So if anything, if you should be praising and praying to anyone, it should be her and her ancestors. She did a speech and she said that Christianity was high treason, and anyone caught practicing, teaching others how to read, or praying would be put to death, no matter who they were. By this time, all but 2 foreigners had left the country. They too received notice to vacate the country. On one occasion, the queen had a group of Christians tied by the feet over a 150-foot drop into a rock-filled ravine. There, she asked them to denounce Christianity and to denounce God, and when they refused, she had the rope cut and they plummeted 150 feet head first to their death. By now, it's almost 1 million people dead. She's going on killing sprees. Not only did her servants think that she was a tyrant, they thought that she was insane. There was a Frenchman who had pretty much had enough of everything that was going on. So he decided that he would try to outsmart her son and get him to sign a document putting back the agreement that they had with Britain. So he knew that the son could not read. So he took advantage of him and got him to sign the treaty. Well, the son wasn't as dumb as he looked, because he reached out to the British people and asked them exactly what was the treaty. So when they told him what was going on, he went and he told his mother, the queen. The queen allowed him to think that his plan had worked all the way up until the day it was time for him to overthrow her. He never knew that she knew anything. When the day came, he was seized and he was kept in his home until they could decide what they would do with him. Remarkably, he was not killed. The queen passed away in her sleep on August the 16th, 1861. When she died, 1,200 zebu were slaughtered in her honor. The meat was then given to her loyal subjects and followers. The day of her funeral, somehow a spark went off and it hit a barrel filled with shotgun powder. When it hit the barrel full of shotgun powder, it caused a fire and 3 people died, and there were 3 houses that burned down. If you ask me, that was her soul escaping. Mourning for the queen went on for 9 whole months. She was buried. However, her burial place was desecrated when a French colonist went and dug her up. Highly disrespectful. He had taken her bones and placed her in a tomb of her son's wife, Queen Rosharina. Because of the torture that she had done to her people during her, she did earn the #1 spot in history for being the craziest queen. After she died, Madagascar partied in the streets. They were getting drunk, they were doing drugs, they were clapping, they were having feasts. They were so glad that she was no longer with them. Her son went on to take over and reign until he was assassinated. Now, was she really a mad queen, or was it just, it's my way or the highway, and if you don't like it, you can get the fuck on? Was she really a mad queen, or did y'all not like when women are in positions of authority? Because there are kings all throughout history who have done way worse, much worse. Genghis Khan, for one, and his video is coming up too. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of The Real Royalty. Make sure you hit the like and the follow button, and I will have more to come.